Greetings everybody, this is Lightstar here, and today we are going to talk about the intuitive empath. And this is going to be in a two-part series video, which today we're going to talk about the plight of the intuitive empath and what's yours and what's theirs. And in the second video, which I will have shortly, we'll be sharing some tips and tricks along the path to help you to deal with the emotions and some things that can help an intuitive empath deal on this planet, right? So let's get into the first part here, which is just let me explain a little bit more about what an intuitive empath is. So many of you already know this because you are one, but just in case there's someone out there that came across this that doesn't understand what an intuitive empath means or what that term is. Basically, the intuitive empath is someone that is very, very attuned to the emotional realm and to not just to their emotions, but to other people's emotions. So I want to liken an intuitive empath like a sponge that just tends to absorb a lot of other people's energies and a lot of other people's emotions. And it's very difficult for, these are very, very sensitive individuals. So they feel just about everything, you know. So the heightened sensations of emotion and feeling is very, very strong. And typically at a very young age, this is something that the intuitive empath doesn't necessarily know they're an intuitive empath. But what will be happening is in their, like say in their family, they will be absorbing all these emotions from their mom, their dad, their sister, their brother, their friends, their teachers, and everyone around them, and not unknowing that they're doing this because it's just part of the sort of the veil's a little bit thinner around that person, and so the sponge tends to absorb and it gets over like flow. So imagine a sponge that's just filled to the brim, right? It's just got water in there and it's just growing and growing, 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 growing until what? It can't hold any more water. And what needs to happen is we need to squeeze that sponge out. So intuitive empaths have a very strong sense of this emotional realm that tends to kind of pick up all this stuff from other people. And it's very unfortunate that our society doesn't really know, and some parents are really getting to be more and more attuned to this and helping the child as they're growing to understand this, that this is actually a gift and not a curse, right? How many of you out there, intuitive empaths, that feel sometimes like you're cursed, you know? I mean, some people are it's so to the extreme that they can't even go out of their house because it's just too overwhelming. Everybody's emotions are just too overwhelming for their system and they just can't really handle it. So it's kind of like, you know, when your pupils are like really big and, you know, it's like this wide like scope and you're taking in so much more than the next person. There's ways that you need to learn how to deal with that. So we're going to deal with that in the second video, but here in this video, we're going to talk about how to decipher what is your stuff, what is your emotions, and what is somebody else's emotions, and how do you tell the difference? Because that permeability is very difficult for the intuitive empath, the very sensitive intuition that that being has to understand how to tell the difference, because emotion's emotion, right? So if you're just going along and you're not really understanding that you are an intuitive empath and you don't know the signs necessarily of that, it's a little bit difficult to decide within yourself, like if you're feeling happy one day, if you're feeling sad one day, if you're feeling angry one day, and you think it's your stuff, and it might be your stuff. But then again, it might be somebody else's stuff that you just came across and had a conversation with them and they just sort of dumped on you and you absorbed it all. And so now you're feeling it. So that's kind of the most common thing, is that intuitive empaths will feel other people's emotions, but not know that they're feeling these emotions and not even have a clue that that's going on and start to realize that, hey, this is a special gift of mine that can be very helpful in a lot of ways. It can be helpful to empathize, right, with other people and to really be there and to really understand what they're going through. So it's just a matter of like that fine line between taking it on yourself and then being there and appropriately empathetic to other people, and to be and that sort of gift there. So I'm going to talk about a few different ways that you can decipher between what is your emotions and what is someone else's. Okay, these are questions, and to be honest, this is really about you becoming more aware of your own emotional style. So it's very important to know your emotional style. What does that mean? Your emotional style is about how you receive energy, how you receive energy from when you're in your own world and in the realm of being with other people. So for instance, the first question you're going to want to ask, this is like question number one, or to know about yourself, is how quickly, how long does it take for you to bounce back from when you feel depressed, or you feel sad, or you feel, angry. But generally, if you know your emotional style, like for instance, if you know it takes you, and you typically, if you feel sad or you feel kind of depressed, then it might take you a day, before you kind of come out of that. And that's just, again, by going into the awareness of what happens to you when you feel those feelings, and tracking kind of how long it takes you to pull yourself out. So in that example, if you know that it takes you one day and you typically kind of come out of that, well, what happens when you're sitting in this depression for like 2-3 days and it keeps going on longer, and you go, this just feels like it's maybe perhaps not me. Maybe this is really not my stuff. So that's a good indication, if you know your own emotional style for that, and you know how long it takes you to normally pull yourself out. Now, I understand there can be other things going on, and I want to include the other things going on is the cosmic waves of the planet right now, which we also have to take into account for. So it's not only, okay, you've got your emotion and what you're feeling, you've got another person's emotion, what they're feeling when you're interacting with them. And now we have the cosmic energies of what's going on. Well, of course, you could also put the astrology in there too. Things going on with your own astrology that can shift things. So there's a lot of different things that you need to decipher between what is yours, what is going on, that how long it's taking me to pull myself out. If it's taking me extra long than normal, there may be something else going on. It's an to look at who was I just with that was kind of maybe feeling this, or who was I feeling this about, and really going into that. And it may not be somebody that you typically have been in contact with. It may be something that you're picking up from a family member who lives across the country that's going through something. So you have to kind of look at what's going on and how long of a time that it takes you to pull yourself out of it. So that's question number one in that realm. Now, the second question is where in your body, again, being aware, becoming aware, and by the way, becoming aware takes practice. So, this isn't going to happen one day. This is over time where you begin to see yourself. Where in my body do I necessarily feel my emotion? For instance, if I'm feeling angry about something, where in my body do I typically get that sensation? I mean, some people, the word hothead, if you're angry, sometimes it's like right up here and you just die, feel your head just boiling over. Sometimes it's like in another part of your body. But knowing that is very important, because where you have those emotions is typically something within you, so that you can decipher, okay, that's something with me. I know I usually feel this in my body whenever I get angry, or I usually start feeling something heartfelt sadness. It really starts to feel like in my heart, and I know that because I know the emotion, and I know that my own response to that emotion and where it hits me. So again, where you normally feel that emotion, if for some reason you start to feel it in a different location on your body, or something about it feels a little not like the norm, and it's a little different, then that's another indication that there's maybe something else going on. There might be something emotionally speaking of absorbing or taking on maybe somebody else's emotion, and perhaps even that person, like for instance, if you feel it coming into your stomach, you just feel this kind of wave coming into your stomach, and that's not typically where you feel it, or maybe like you personally, you know, knowing your feelings, but you notice that you were just around somebody else that was feeling that, and they were having some stomach problems or something was going on with them and emotionally, and that's where they were feeling it. Emotional and intuitive empaths will often begin to feel the emotions of other people, generally even in the places and the location on their body that what is going on. Okay, so if they're having stomach problems or stomach aches, or whether they were having some kind of other issue in their body, you know, maybe they were having a headache, all of a sudden you have a headache, it's not really normal for you to have headaches, that kind of thing starts to become the indicator point. These little red flags that kind of symbolize, okay, maybe something else is going on. And again, now we're including the cosmic waves. So we start to also decipher, okay, well that lasted, for some reason that lasted for like a month, and I don't know where it came from, out of the blue. I didn't know anybody that was feeling this way. I wasn't particularly feeling that, but it was coming in to my body and giving me some kind of strange symptoms. So sometimes that is also possible. So very important question to know where in your body that you normally feel emotions and how that transfers. So this is a very important one. Okay, this is kind of question number 3. That this takes a little bit of practice when you're with other people, or about to go into a meeting with someone, or about to go to a party, or about being with other people. So this is a really helpful tool, is to really establish before you go to that meeting or that party or wherever, before asking yourself, how am I feeling right now? Simple question. But how am I feeling? Okay, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? So you kind of get to note yourself in your emotional state and what's going on with you emotionally. It's a really good way to check in with yourself as well. So you get sort of a baseline of what is going on with you, perhaps before you go to that, you know, meeting or party or interaction. And then what you do is you go to the party, just kind of do your thing, and then notice how you feel after that party. So these are things to be very aware of. Were you triggered? Are you feeling something that you weren't feeling necessarily before, because now it's really up in your face? Now I know that there's interactions that are going to happen with people, so obviously you're going to feel a lot of different things. But if there is a noted difference, very strong noted difference after, okay, then, and it's harder when you're in a group of lots of different people, because you don't know, you could be picking up, you know, 10 different people's stuff. And often that does happen. So we have to just kind of, you know, sort of decompress afterwards. And I highly recommend, we'll get into this in the second video with how to decompress and how to release all that energy once you've kind of like sucked it all up, you know. Sometimes it's like we learn to manage these type of energies over a period of practicing and over time, but you can't really, it's like a very important thing, like I say in this video, the important message is your awareness of your baseline, of how you normally have your emotional style and your emotional expression, and how you generally feel things. Now I know things are going to come up, there's going to be differences, and these are like fine things to you know, fine details, you know, to kind of fine tune that. But in the general sense, you know, that is how an intuitive empath will come to learn about themselves, to learn about how you particularly, how you decipher energy and how you decipher frequency, how it comes into your body, where it comes into your body, how long it takes for you to normally. This is why it's so important for especially the intuitive empath to have a very clear sense of who they are, how they feel, meaning how they, you know, how they feel, meaning how they are emotionally, transferring, how they're emotionally expressing, where it comes into your body, how it comes into your body normally. So these are some tips to really ask your questions to ask yourself along this path to really get more clear. And I highly recommend that people that do client work with sessions, okay, and if you're an intuitive empath, doing client sessions, noticing before your client even comes, to you, and they're even sitting before you, talking on the phone, doing Skype session, whatever you do, noticing the energy shift perhaps within you before that session, okay, can give you a lot of insight as well into what's going on with that person, and generally what's coming up with them, because sometimes you'll feel it, ahead of time, especially intuitive empaths. It's not like, okay, intuitive empaths can only feel things 2 feet away. No. Intuitive empaths can feel miles. There is no dimensions. There is no real delineating line there of how far it can reach. So again, and this can happen in the other dimensions. I mean, you could generally be feeling fine, but then all of a sudden you could even be feeling energies coming in from your mom who passed over, isn't even on the planet anymore. I mean, it runs the gamut, okay? But that is my point, is that there's so many things bombarding us on this planet and this world and our 3D life, and trying to decipher, working with people and interacting with everybody, and then really just trying to understand ourselves, okay? It's a process, and it's a continual process of learning how you respond, how you behave, how you receive, what you receive, where you receive it. All these things help you to generally become much more aware of yourself and aware of these type of energies around us, so that you can help to cope better and interact better with people without becoming overwhelmed and bombarded. Now, having said that, yes, an intuitive empath is going to need to do certain things to take care of themselves that might be much more than the average person. That's just going to be a given, and that's something you learn as you go along. You may need more space than somebody else. You may need to disconnect or disengage. You may need to feel like you want to take your own car places. There's a really interesting there's a woman named Judith Orloff. She's a psychiatrist in I believe she's in LA, but she wrote several books about intuitive empath and gone through this particular topic at length. And she gave she's one of the first people where I started to realize that was going on with me, and I didn't know it, but there were like 10 different signs, about the intuitive empath, and several of them, I mean, I don't remember all of them, but I had all of them at the time when I was reading her list, almost all of them. Many things like needing to take your own car places to feel like, you have your space and want to come home when you want to come home, because you're feeling overwhelmed in crowds of people and it just becomes too much. You might only be able to go out there for like an hour and then you're done, then you got to come home. So much more alone time, difficulty sleeping in the room with other people, in the bed with other people specifically, especially us that are really psychic and into dreams and dream time, and then having somebody else present there can be disruptive to the intuitive empath. And also there's a lot of times where intuitive empaths will go to the refrigerator to eat and eat and eat and eat, because they aren't able to decipher their own emotions, and so the emotions are so overwhelming that it kind of pushes you towards the refrigerator and food. And it's that comfort, it's that trying to sort of alleviate some of the emotions by feeding it. And so there's many different types of things that an intuitive empath, but generally they feel so overwhelmed. And that is the thing that we need to help the intuitive empaths out there to feel much better about themselves, to feel a little bit more in control of their emotions. And I don't want to say in control, I hate using that word, but more in alignment with themselves, and much more so that you can manage your emotional self, because you understand your emotional self a little better. So again, that is what I wanted to share with you today about the plight of the intuitive empath, and what's yours, what's theirs, some tips and tricks to help you guys to decipher so that you can better cope. So the next video I'm going to do will be on some very specific techniques and tools that you can use to help to clear your field and get rid of sort of that, you know, excess water in the sponge, and sort of release it so that you can have a little bit more of clarity and be a little bit more in balance and harmony. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you would like to work with me further, I have many different sessions that you can view on my website at lightstarcreations.com, where you can also see my artwork and my all my different little goodies that I have to share with you on my website. So let me know if you have any questions and comments, and I'd love to see your comments as well on the video to see if you guys resonate with this material. If there's anything else you want to know, please, you know, put it in the comments so that other people can benefit from that as well. You know, there's a lot of intuitive empaths out there that still don't know that they're intuitive empaths. And those are the people we want to help, because especially the children, when growing up and not understanding who they are and understanding their gifts and their sensitivities to this, it's very important that we help them along the way so that they can not fall out of society and go live in a cave somewhere. Because we need them and we need their gifts, but we need them to also help to understand how to deal with them and how to cope in this world as well. So that's it for now. Love you guys. Sending you lots and lots of magical blessings from the angelics, the galactics, and the elementals as always. And have a super awesome day, and I'll talk to you guys really soon. Bye now.